Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my financial journey of how I went from being in poverty to having plenty and 6 practical steps that you can use on your financial journey. The purpose of this video is to share with you a free PDF that you can download from our website. If you go to forgodmedia.com, go to the personal finance section, and you can download the 6-step guide to godly stewardship. But before I get into that, I want to share a little bit about where I come from and where I started. You see, I grew up in a little bit of a dysfunctional family where education and responsibility was not really important. Therefore, I ended up making a lot of bad decisions early on. And one of those bad decisions was dropping out of high school at the age of 14 years old. And so what that did is it led me on a road to begin to experiment with drugs. And by my early 20s, I am a complete drug addict to the point where I'm almost overdosing and almost living on the street. But a dramatic change happened at the age of 22. I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. And in one prayer, not only did he deliver me from drug addiction, but he also gave me peace, hope, and a purpose. Shortly after, I ended up getting married to my wife. And what we quickly found out was we did not know how to manage money. We were $20,000 in debt. So we knew we had to make a change, and some of the changes that we made are some of the steps that we're going to be talking about today. But those steps led us to having the opportunity to retiring by the age of 38. Shortly after, we understood that we could build generational wealth. So I want to share those steps with you today. So let's get right into it. Step 1 is set God first goals. And so what does this mean? One of the things that we did when we opened our business was not only did we want to be financially successful, but we also wanted to contribute to God's work. So we set up our business in a way that would honor God with our business. And I believe when you set God first goals, that God will give you clear direction, that God will give you favor, and God will bless what you're doing. You know, many times I'll talk to people, and what I realize is that God's nowhere around their plans. And Proverbs 16:3 talks about when you commit your works to God, God will establish your thoughts. And that word establish means success. And so when you do this, you'll see that your goals will begin to unfold. So you got to ask yourself, where do you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years? And do those goals line up to God's will for your life? When they do, I believe you have the opportunity to become very successful. The next step is working hard, but also working smart. In Proverbs 10:4, it talks about how the diligent hand will bring wealth. You see, many people understand that they need to work hard to become successful. But what I've seen over time is a lot of people focus on how much money they make, not how they're using their resources. And so we have to be able to establish financial principles when we're managing our money. And so those financial principles can be as simple as tithing. The Bible talks about how when we tithe, we honor God with our resources and he blesses us with more than what we need. Also knowing our true financial situation. You see, sometimes I'll ask people, where are you financially? And they just don't know. And the next thing is having a budget. A budget is just telling your money where to go in advance instead of asking it where it went. The last principle is growing in financial knowledge. You know, what I've realized over time is financial literacy is not taught in school, but rather it is something that is sought after. As you do this, you will build stability for your financial situation. The next step is practicing consistency. Luke 16:10 talks about he that is faithful with a little is also faithful with the much, but also he that is dishonest with the little is also dishonest with the much. So we understand that consistency is important. Consistency will help us to stay on track in our financial plan. But also I believe that God blesses those that are consistent. I was able to see better job opportunities, or I was able to generate more resources after I became consistent. So not only do we need to be consistent in wise financial decisions, but we also need to be consistent in prioritizing financial responsibilities, like having an emergency fund, saving for a rainy day, or putting life insurance in place to bring stability to our family, and also eliminating debt. As we do this, our financial situation will become stronger and it'll lead us to the true financial success that we're looking for. The next step, or step 4, is giving generously. Now, for us, this has been a game changer. What we've realized is that being generous has unlocked supernatural growth opportunity. We've seen our businesses grow. We've seen new business opportunities come, all because of generosity. I believe if you're a Christian, it'll be very hard to grow financially if you're not generous. Our experience has been that when you're generous, God gets involved in your finances. The next step is step 5, that's multiplying your money. In Proverbs 21:20, it talks about the wise have wealth, but the fool spends it all. And so what I've seen is many people believe that only a selected few or an elite have the opportunity to multiply their money or to grow financially through investing. And that's not true. What I do understand is that investing requires wisdom. And a lot of times that wisdom will come through counsel or an advisor. So if you're going to invest, it's very important for you to find an advisor with the heart of a teacher. Someone that can teach you. When I started investing, I knew nothing about investing. Somebody sat down with me and explained to me the most basic things that has helped me to invest for almost 20 years. So you have to have an advisor. You have to understand the investment that you're getting into. You should never invest in something that you don't understand. You should also understand that time is an extremely big factor in growing your investment, and there is always risk involved. If you manage risk properly, you will be able to have a good investment. The last step is building for the future. Proverbs 13 talks about leaving an inheritance to your children's children. And for me, an inheritance is more than just money or resources. It's conviction. It's the vision that God has given you for your family. And so I believe that it is extremely important that as we become blessed or more financially stable, that we begin to prepare for the next generation. And what does that look like? That's educating our children, building a plan, or putting a structure in place, and ultimately giving the next generation an advantage to become successful with what God has blessed you with. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. See you next time, and don't forget to like or subscribe to our channel.